Chapter 41:30. 3 more arrived today. One thought of the kingdom of God, one of the most powerful means of mastery of the Supreme. You can think of it as forming a great kingdom of God, with the kingdom of God as the core, to suppress the strength of your opponents to the greatest extent, and at the same time to make your own strength soar. The principle is actually similar to the gifted magical primitive universe given to Jian Wushuang by the laws of the universe. Of course, the strongest of the primitive universe is the enhancement of its own strength, but the suppression effect can only be considered as ordinary. And the thought of the kingdom of God is based on the power of the framework of the kingdom of God. This does not have a great effect among the strong men of the same level. For example, a supreme master performing a mind of God will not affect a strong man who is also at the highest level. It's too big. This conception of the kingdom of God is only for most of the supreme, just to pave the way to becoming the top supreme, and to lay the foundation for the development of a true kingdom of God in the future. However, if this trick is applied to low-level practitioners, it will be of great effect. For example, if a supreme master casts a thought on the kingdom of God for a group of masters, then even if there are a large number of these masters, they can exert their own strength. I am afraid there are not many. And now, the one who displays the mind of the kingdom of God is only the 9 kings who dominate the level. These 9 robbers are amazing. A thought of the kingdom of God, even if it is a supreme level strongman, it will take a long time to study it before it can be mastered. He just masters the level and has mastered this trick. 20 chaos times did not make a shot. This shot was scary enough. Although he still failed to break through to become the supreme, but by this means, I am afraid no one can deny that he has the possibility of becoming supreme. Yes, this trick alone is estimated to be enough to make many high-level executives in the Palace of Life pay a lot of attention to him. Those who watch the war are talking about it. Prior to that, the high level of the Life Shrine basically did not give any hope to the King of Jolong, and thought that the King of Jolong would be the ultimate dominating level in his lifetime, and it would be almost impossible to break into the Supreme. But now, the King of 9 Calamities can demonstrate the potential of the Kingdom of God, and he has been able to prove his potential. Even if he finally lost to Jian Wushuang in this battle, he still can prove himself. And in the eyes of many people present, the King of 9 Calamities even exhibited the Kingdom of God, and there was basically no suspense in that battle. In that separate void. A thought of the Kingdom of God. The axe shining in the eyes of the great axe, staring at the scene in the basal mirror, but nodded secretly. It can be considered to be barely comprehended. Being able to comprehend this trick at the level of the master, the 9 kings of the calamity do not waste the resources of my life temple. The 9 kings of calamity can be considered to prove themselves, but I don't know if Jian Wushuang can still find an opportunity under this mind-bending kingdom of God. Bloodwave Supreme said. I don't see it. The giant axe shook his head supremely. That's not necessarily. This sword Wushuang has not yet exerted his talents and magical powers. If he exerts his magical powers, maybe he can fight it. Bloodwave Supreme said. The two talked, while the next to the Supreme Gava was still standing there, without words, but his gaze was always looking at the scene of Shuangguang, the trial ground. The entire trial space has now been completely occupied by the illusory kingdom of God. While in the kingdom of God, Jian Wushuang is also able to feel the majestic strength suppressed by the surrounding sky. Jian Wushuang, to be honest, I never thought about this trick before, but I didn't expect that your understanding of the laws of the universe would be so high, and you still have such a powerful willpower. Wei, in order to defeat you, I can only do this trick. This move is also my biggest hole card. You can feel the power of it. King Zhoujia laughed. Jian Wu's eyes have already narrowed, he is feeling the power of the surroundings to suppress him. This feeling of oppression, and the dim shadows of the surrounding world, no accident should be a thought of the kingdom of God. Jian Wushuang secretly said. He had heard Supreme Master Ling Yun's preaching, and Ling Yun Supreme talked about many things in many aspects, and he also mentioned this idea of the kingdom of God. The thought of the kingdom of God is the means by which the Supreme is qualified to master it. Even the Supreme, it is difficult to master, and for the master, it is even dare not to think about it. China, this alone is no lack of genius. However, Jian Wushuang also saw that although the 9 kings of the kingdom had realized the mind of the kingdom of God, it should not be fully grasped. To be precise, his mind of the kingdom of God was only a structure, but it had not been truly perfected, otherwise the kingdom of God alone, the suppression effect is enough to make him unable to move. But now, although Jian Wushuang has been greatly suppressed, the action and even the fierce battle are all right. King of 9 robbers. Jian Wushuang suddenly looked up. Huh! King Zhoujia also looked at Zhao Jianshuang. But this moment. Boom! A coercion from the depths of the soul came to this world. Talented, amazing life. This genius awakened by Jian Wushuang in the nirvana pool of life, for the first time, appeared in the world. Suddenly, the violent winds in the void, the rotating stars, the twinkling stars, and the surrounding great kingdom of God, all stagnated. Time seems to freeze at this moment. At this moment of coercion, King Zhoujia's eyes suddenly opened, and an unbelievable surge appeared on his face. And his body was standing there, motionless, but the thought of the kingdom around him still began to collapse rapidly, and the entire kingdom of God had disappeared in a blink of an eye. Cool. The sword has no body shape, and it has already come to the king of Zhoujia. Wu Chong's magic sword pierced straight out. Without any obstruction, he directly penetrated the of Zhoujia. Suddenly, King Zhoujia's body, completely condensed by the trial sight, immediately collapsed, and King Zhoujia's consciousness returned to the body. The king of 9 calamities, who was just as impressed by the idea of the kingdom of God, was so inexplicable defeated. There is silence outside the trial ground. All the people who watched the battle stood there in amazement at this moment, silent. The eyes of King Josuan of King Josiah have been opened, but the eyes are full of incredible. He was defeated. He didn't even have time to reveal the power of the kingdom of God, so he was inexplicably defeated by Jian Wushuang. He didn't even know how he failed. It's not just him. Most people around me don't understand how he was defeated by Jian Wushuang. And the king of Zhoujia began to recall the scene just now, that moment. Chapter 41:31. The first is more. At that moment, he was subjected to an extremely powerful deterrent force that made him tremble all over his body, and he could not help but kneel and worship. That is a kind of congenital suppression from a lower life level. Life stun. This talent is supernatural, and it can stun all people whose life level is lower than themselves for a short time. In other words, as long as the level of life is lower than that of sword warriors, no matter what the realm is, it will be suppressed, but the degree of suppression is different. That is high-level life, looking down on low-level life. At that moment, his horror caused his consciousness to fall into a stagnant state, and the kingdom of God immediately collapsed, and Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to defeat his body. But don't forget that the king of Zhoulong himself is also the perfect life. His talents should be the deterrent suppression at the level of life. In the way of being deterred, people's conscious actions fell into a temporary stasis, but I am also a perfect life like him. Me? Is it because his strength is stronger than mine? The king of Zhoujia some wondered. He has indeed seen Jian Wushuang's talented nature, which is the deterrent suppression of the life level. But he did not understand why Jian Wushuang's talented supernatural powers suppressed him. He didn't know that the perfect level of life was also true, but Jian Wushuang's level of life was definitely higher than that of King Zhoujia. After all, Jian Wushuang's divine strength is 13,500 times, and it's not his limit. He just shows 8,000 times the divine strength. The normal perfect life, even if the innate advantage is developed to the extreme, it is only equivalent to 10,000 times the strength of the ordinary practitioners. Even the Supreme Master of Blood, it is certain that Jian Wushuang's life level is by no means as simple as perfect life. In the same state that the two remained in the same state, Jian Wushuang's talents and magical powers were shocked, and Zhu Jiawang was also unable to resist and was extremely intimidated. This is the key to Jian Wushuang's victory. Jian Wushuang. King Zhoujia looked up at Jian Wushuang, who also returned to his consciousness, but his eyes were extremely complicated. The king of 9 calamities, it has been accepted. Jian Wushuang smiled and arched his hands at the king of 9 calamities. Upon seeing this, King Zhoujia snorted coldly, and said, Jian Wushuang, you are lucky this time. You said I was lucky, let alone luck. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly and was too lazy to argue with him. After a moment of pause, Jian Wushuang's words turned and said, "The King of Nine Calamities, the trial is now over, and the color head that should have been delivered before should be delivered. Well, this seat will still be bad for you." Zhu Jiawang heard the words. There was a tinge of annoyance on his face, and he didn't drag. His right hand was turned over, and two jealous inferior principles appeared on the palm. It was the 2 rules of God fruit that he had previously used to make colorful heads. Jiang Wushuang, these are the 2 gods that promise you the best, and as for the 200,000 cosmic source stones, I will send someone to your residence later. Rest assured, although I lost in Zhoujia, but not a person who can't afford to lose. After speaking, with a wave of the sleeves of the King of Nine Calamities, these 2 sublime rules of God fruit, they shot towards the sword Wushuang. Thank you very much. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, and brought the 2 sublime rules to the fruit of God. 1 slave, let's go. The King of Nine Robbers was defeated at this moment, and he didn't think much about it. After saying a word to the old man in black in the distance, he left with a gloomy face. The slave in black also quickly followed. A few moments later, the figures of King Zhoujia and the old man in black had disappeared in front of everyone. And in that unique void, Gafu Supreme glanced at Jian Wushuang deeply, and also flickered, leaving the blue temple. Galf Supreme walks slowly. Bloodwave Supreme smiled brightly, the corners of his mouth were full of joy. At the beginning, as the only person who knew the sword and the bottom of the sword, Bloodwave Supreme had great confidence in the battle of the sword and the sword. However, with the outbreak of a mindfulness of the kingdom of the 9 kings, his confidence was broken. Worried about Jian Wushuang. It didn't take long for him to worry. Jian Wushuang even reversed the situation instantly, and his talents came out, winning this victory directly. Even though he was accustomed to strong winds and waves, his mood couldn't help a little ups and downs. Big Axe, we have been watching for so long, and it's time to meet the little guy. Bloodwave Supreme smiled at the great axe next to him. That's right. Although the Supreme Axe wanted to hold his expression, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but evoke a rising arc. With a flash of their figures, they appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Extreme Bloodwave, Extreme Axe. Jian Wushuang saw the arrival of Extreme Axe and Extreme Bloodwave, and hurriedly bowed respectfully. For these 2 supremes, Jian Wushuang is still very respectful. You're welcome. Bloodwave Supreme waved his hand, and his gaze was a glance at the people in the Palace of Life, who were watching the battle in the void, and said, "There are so many people talking here, let's talk in another place." Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded his head, and then the 3 of them flickered and left the trial ground. And those who watched the battle at the Life Shrine looked at the disappearing sword Wushuang and could not return to God for a long time. Slowly, a little respect was added to their eyes. After 300,000 years of training, you can defeat the 9 jealous kings who are invincible universes among the masters. This sword is uniquely talented. I am afraid that the entire vast universe will never find a second person. I don't know if I can find the second one in the vast universe, but in the palace of my life and domination, no one can compare with him. It is foreseeable that as long as this sword Wushuang does not fall off in the middle, it is entirely possible that it will become another pillar of the shrine of my life. His potential is truly limitless. These powerful men who watch the battle are discussing one after another, and their hearts are hung with sincere smiles. Jian Wushuang, who is in the palace of their life, the stronger the sword Wushuang is, then their life shrine is naturally stronger. The 2 complement each other and depend on each other. Let's go too. Everyone left, and this battle was settled with the sword's victory. And the news that the King of Nine Calamities lost to Jian Wushuang in the trial ground, and then spread it completely in the Temple of Life. In the Temple of Life, there is a plaque with the word Bloodwave in it. There are several stone tables, and a pot of tea is burning on the table. The tea is not cooked yet, and it has a refreshing spiritual fragrance. Have been scattered. Well, 2 gods of sublime rules, 200,000 source rocks of the universe, don't look at Zhu Jie on the trial ground, pretending to be nothing. In fact, some of him hurts. Bloodwave Supreme shook his head, he said with a chuckle. Chapter 41-32. Second more. Giant Axe Supreme and Jian Wushuang stood beside Bloodwave Supreme, and they couldn't help smiling at the words. The three came here after leaving the Bluestone Hall. Being able to defeat the 9 Calamity Kings who have been able to perform a miracle of God in the trial ground, you are really amazing, but you must not be complacent because of a trial victory. You lose, but it's because Xiao was suppressed to the same realm as you on the trial ground. If it is a real competition, you are far away from him. Suddenly, the giant axe looked at Jian Wushuang suddenly, exhorted. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. He naturally knew that if he killed himself in reality, the King of 9 Calamities would be the ultimate master. With his own divine strength, he would be able to match the supreme power, and the combat power would be absolutely supreme level, and even if he exerts all his strengths, he is not enough in front of the supreme. The great axe is afraid of being proud and complacent when he wins a victory, which reminds him a few words. Just understand. The giant axe said no more, seeing a smile. After a while, the lingcha was cooked, and the rich tea aroma spread completely. The Supreme Master Xiebo brewed a cup of tea for Jian Wushuang and asked, Wang Wushuang, what are you planning next? Jian Wushuang groaned for a moment and replied, whether it is my understanding of Kendo or my understanding of the laws of the universe, it is good in the level of domination, but my own realm is really too low, so I want to try my best. May break through the 4th level to dominate first. Jian Wushuang is very clear that no matter what his means are, his own realm is fundamental. And he is now only the 3rd level domination. Although the combat power is comparable to the ultimate domination, and even stronger than the general ultimate domination, this level is still nothing in the vast universe. Improving realm cultivation as soon as possible is indeed the top priority of Jian Wushuang. The breakthrough of the dominance level is based on the fusion rule, and I have understood the 7th rule very early. What is missing is the fusion of the 7th rule. Although I have some ideas about the fusion of the 7th rule, if it continues to merge gradually, it will be able to merge, but progress will be too slow, and it will take hundreds of thousands of years to say less. Too slow. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Hundreds of thousands of years, perhaps for most of the masters, just a snap. But for Jian Wushuang, who has only practiced for more than 300,000 years, hundreds of thousands of years are indeed too long. Masters' whereabouts are unknown. The group of mysterious supremes I encountered in Joey Starfield before, I'm afraid they all went to master. And if I want to figure out all this, to find the master's deity, at least I must have the supreme combat power, because only then can I not be afraid of the mysterious supremes. Not much time left for me. Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered. Before he was hunted down by one of the mysterious supremes, a supreme called Bite 9, he already had some speculation. There is only one reason why the Thunder God Palace would be flattened, and he would kill the Break 9 Supreme himself. Even the 9 stars were almost erased by them. That is his master, Shen Yi. Jian Wushuang thought about this, and frowned lightly. The Bloodwave Supreme and Giant Axe Supreme also saw the distress on Jian Wushuang's face. Jian Wushuang, are you distressed to merge the 7th rule? Bloodwave Supreme looked over. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. The rules are merged, and the more difficult it is, the more difficult I am. I have obtained some special opportunities before. I already have a general idea about the fusion of the 7th rule. Inevitable, but it may take longer. This is not a problem. Supreme Xiebo smiled, and said, in the Palace of Life, there are also many special places, as well as some excellent cultivation places, such as the battle with King Jiulong before. The testing ground is where many practitioners in my life shrine use the old simulations to fight. In terms of rule fusion, naturally, my life shrine also has several cultivation places that are helpful for rule fusion. However, now that you have a clear idea, what is missing is only the time course. It will be easier. I can introduce you to a place, just in the 3rd mountain, there is a river of Wudao, you are inside integrating the 7th rule, the speed is definitely several times or even dozens of times elsewhere, you can go there and see. In addition, that Wudaohe is not only a rule, it is also very helpful in the realization of the laws of the universe. Did you get 2 gods from God of the 9th Calamity? When you get to Dao Hanoi, you can try to eat one, and maybe you will gain something in the laws of the universe. God River. Jian Wushuang looked. Thank you for telling the seniors. Jian Wushuang gave thanks to Bloodwave Supreme, and even left the temple eagerly and headed for the third mountain. Looking at the back that Jian Wushuang swept away at the speed, Bloodwave Supreme was showing a playful smile. Bloodbow, you mentioned Wu Dao to this little guy, but you didn't mention the river spirit of Wu Dao Hanoi. Why is this? The giant axe looked at it strangely. I'll just tell Wu Dao her. As for that river spirit, it's not a big trouble. He should deal with it by himself. Bloodwave Supreme frowned. The two supreme faces looked at each other, with a smile on their corners. On the other side, after learning about the existence of Daohe from the mouth of Bloodwave Supreme, Jian Wushuang first went back to his residence to say hello to Lung Wushuang, and immediately went to the third mountain. In the third mountain range, Jian Wushuang casually asked someone and knew where the Dao River was. Wow! Before approaching the Wu Dao River, Jian Wushuang heard a rushing stream of water. When he approached it, a rolling river with a width of 1,000 meters appeared in front of him. The river was dark, and the unparalleled sword unconsciously looked at it, and couldn't help but stunned. It has a strong and regular atmosphere, not only that, but also the atmosphere of the laws of the universe, and it is extremely rich. He can feel that the regular breath in this river and the breath of the laws of the universe are extremely intense. It can be said that it is thousands of times outside. It must be much faster than the outside world. As for the integration of the seventh rule, the time required can naturally be greatly reduced. Chapter 41-33. 3 more arrived today. Looking at the Wu Dao River, which is so rich in the rules of heaven and earth and the law of the universe, Jian Wushuang nodded with satisfaction. Seeing no one around, he didn't think too much, and stepped into the river in one step. After a few breaths, Jian Wushuang went to the deepest part of the middle of the river. At the next moment, Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and let his body sink gradually. Golum! There was a blister of water on the river surface, and only a moment later, Jian Wushuang disappeared on the river surface and sank to the bottom of the river. At the bottom of the river, the sword sat cross-legged and turned over and took out the inferior rule god fruit obtained from the king of 9 robbers, but he just took out the rule god fruit. His brow was wrinkled, it seemed to be sensing something, his eyes could not help choked up. Later, as if nothing had happened, Jian Wushuang set aside the 2 sublime rules of god fruit and closed his eyes slowly. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Jian Wushuang seems to be in deep cultivation. I do not know when. In the dark right behind Jian Wushuang, a little old man who is only 5 inches tall, slightly humpbacked, with a small moustache, walked out towards Jian Wushuang slowly. The little old man tiptoed and gave birth to his eyes. He came to the back of Jian Wushuang, carefully looked at Jian Wushuang, and saw that Jian Wushuang really fell into deep cultivation, and then he took a long breath and raised his back. Shaky and swaying towards the sword, Wushuang walked over. But just as he reached out his hand and just grabbed the 2 inferior laws next to Jian Wushuang, the vision over his sky suddenly turned black. Catch you! A cold voice came. The next moment, seeing Jian Wushuang's eyes open, the cold mang in his eyes flickered, and he lifted up the little old man. Woohoo wow! The little old man was held in his hand by Jian Wushuang, and suddenly whimpered. To shut up. Jian's eyes were cold, and his hand was lightly forced. The old man stopped barking suddenly. A pair of small eyes stared angrily at Jian Wushuang, gritted his teeth and said, Boy, do you know who I am? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes when he heard the words, and there was a look of shock in his face. This little old man is not so tall, probably the first master level, but he has a strange power on his body. Don't look at him just pinching it gently, but depending on his current strength, even the ordinary second-level dominator will be directly pinched by him, and this little old man has nothing at all, which is really weird. I don't know. Jian Wushuang depressed his thoughts and replied faintly. What? Your elder didn't tell you who I was? The little old man made a mistake on his face, then glanced at Jian Wushuangdao. I tell you, I am this river of Wudao River Lord. Lord He Ling is also. He Ling. Jian Wushuang glanced suspiciously at the little old man. He hadn't heard from the Supreme Master of Blood that there was any river spirit in the Dao River. Wouldn't it be a liar? Boy, you have such a daring courage to dare to do this to me. Do you know that you have done a great disaster, and if you are acquaintances, you will consciously let me go, by the way. Quite, pointing to the 2 sublime rules next to Zhijian Wushuang, and the eyes glowed, give me these 2 sublime rules to God, and I will spare you rudeness, otherwise, and take it at your own risk. Jian Wushuang heard the words, and couldn't help laughing, squinting his eyes and saying, are you into a big disaster? Still conceited? I'd like to see, how did you make me conceited? After that, Jian's eyes were cold, and he pointed like a sword and fired a sword on, fiercely chopping towards this river spirit. Rumble. This river of enlightenment has been split directly. Damn. Seeing this, the river screamed, and quickly tried to avoid it. How advanced is Jian Wushuang's kendo cultivation for now, and where is the river spirit that the first level dominates in this area, which can be avoided? Before the river spirit evaded to the side, this sword-on split the river spirit directly into 2 pieces. Wow. I saw that the river spirit was split into 2 places, the river water was twisted for a while, and the countless rules and the laws of the universe were permeated. After only a few breaths, the river spirit actually continued to reorganize and resurrected again. In addition, the law of the universe and rules of this Tao river are full of breath. Boy, do you even move towards me? He Ling's eyes widened and he looked at Jian Wushuang unbelievably. Since the birth of this Wu Dao river, it is no longer known how many years have passed, and since Wu Dao he was moved by the mysterious master of the life shrine to move to the life shrine, the special life of the life shrine, which is not respectful to him. Even the Supreme Strong is quite humble to him, and even if he wants to enter this river of Wu Dao to understand the rules of fusion, he must prepare him a gift. As a result, this guy broke his sword. Jian Wushuang did not pay attention to He Ling's angry screaming, but touched his chin, revealing a thoughtful look in his eyes. He Ling looked at Jian Wushuang's contemplative look, and he smiled suddenly, a hint of slyness flashed in his eyes. Boy, is there no way to take me? Obediently hand over the 2 sublime rules God fruit. Suddenly, Jian Mang suddenly split at him. You guy. He Ling had no time to make an exclamation, but was extremely miserable and was smashed by the sword Mang, falling apart. After Jian Wushuang split the sword, his eyes were full of interest and he looked at the smashed river spirit. There was a guess in his mind. Gollum. Sure enough, it didn't take long for He Ling to regroup again, and he jumped angrily. Asshole. How can you shoot me one after another? I am the Lord He Ling. Jian's eyes looked at the river spirit that was far away from him, cursing the grinning He Ling, and a weird smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Sure enough, www.mtlnovel. With the collapse and reorganization of He Ling's body, the rule breath of this Wu Dao river is stronger than before. If he is not mistaken, this river spirit is transformed by the rules of the will of Wu Dao, which belongs to an immortal existence. As the river spirit was killed and reorganized by him, the rules of will were consumed, and he was fed back. This enlightenment is on the river. Therefore, every time the river spirit dies, the rule of breath in this river of enlightenment is strong. Old man, it looks like you really are the river spirit of Wu Dao. Jian Wushuang smiled strangely. He Ling looked at the smile on Jian Wushuang's face. Somehow, he shivered inexplicably. What do you want to do when you look at me like this? He Ling's neck flinched back and his throat rolled. Chapter 41-34. The first is more. I just killed you twice. Every time you die, the rules of heaven and earth and the laws of the universe must be stronger. That is to say, if I can kill you a few more times, I will get the benefits here in Wu Dao. Isn't it bigger? Jian Wushuang stared at He Ling with good intentions. He Ling stared, but Jian Wushuang had already shot. Come here, Zhentian Monument. Jian Wushuang laughed loudly. A towering Zhentian monument instantly landed, pressing He Ling under the monument. With a scream of the river spirit, Jian Wushuang's retreat for thousands of years began. Spring to autumn, thousands of years. In the blink of an eye, 3,000 years passed. For 3,000 years, in this vast universe, every day, powerful people fall, and new stars are born. The cycle of ancient times is endless. For the universe, the time of 3,000 years is just a snap, and there is peace in the palace of life. The third mountain. A calm, dark river was flowing slowly. Suddenly the river surface began to boil, golum. The water bubbles were bursting, and within just a few breaths, the river surface was shaking like a boiling water. Next moment. Call out. Along with a howl, a figure in black burst out of the river instantly. Jian Wushuang stepped down and stood on the bank of the Dao River. His eyes flickered in his eyes, and the avenue of the whole body surrounded him, like a fucking bathed in a regular ocean. In the 3,000 years, he finally merged the seventh rule in Han Dao Hanoi. In the realm, he also successfully controlled the level from the third level and broke through to the level of the fourth level. Is this the power dominated by the fourth series? Jian Wushuang spread his palms, carefully feeling the fullness of the power in his body, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. He can feel that after breaking through the fourth level, his power is at least dozens of times stronger than before. You know, his strength is 135,000 times that of an ordinary practitioner. It is equivalent to the ordinary fourth grade to dominate 13,500 times the strength of the divine power, which is already stronger than many ultimate dominators in divine power. And this is not his biggest gain. The most important thing is that his understanding of the laws of the universe has risen to a higher level than 3,000 years ago. Of course, the greater appreciation of the laws of the universe, in addition to the swallowing of the two sublime rules of God's fruit lost to the King of Nine Calamities, the bigger reason is because of this river of realization. No, or because of that river spirit. He Ling, I can break through the fourth level master in just 3,000 years, and I have to take care of you. Jian Wushuang looked at the center of Wudao and smiled slightly. There, He Ling was as dead as a heart, lying weakly on the river. He tilted his head and flung. Jian Wushuang opened his mouth to say something, but in the end, he shook his head weakly. 3,999 sword. In these 3,000 years, Jian Wushuang cut his 3,889 swords, and he remembered every sword clearly. What is that concept? He died a total of 3,989 times. Is this something one can do? What does this treat his noble lord Helaying? No one can understand his feelings. Under the suppression of the god-demon Tianbei, he could escape, he could run, he just watched. Every time Jian Wushuang's understanding of the laws of the universe, when he reached the bottleneck, he smiled and stretched out his hand, and the sword fell on him. As the incarnation of Wudao River and the source of the law, every time he dies, the universe's laws and rules breath in this Wudao River. One point is strong. As a result, a large number of cosmic laws and rules collapsed and nurtured in this river of enlightenment, and then speeded up the speed of Jian Wushuang's integration of the rules and the perception of the cosmic laws. He Ling, you have been wronged in these 3,000 years, but you can rest assured that in the future, I have no swords, and there will be good returns. Jian Wushuang carefully arched his hand towards the river spirit. In any case, he was quite grateful for the river spirit. After all, without the river spirit, he would never break through the fourth level in the 3,000 years, and he would have no control over the universe. The comprehension of the law has risen a lot. Let's go, I don't want to see you again. He Ling waved his hands weakly, and now he has nothing to ask for, just hope this who kills 1,000 swords and leaves here early. Jian Wushuang smiled and didn't say much anymore. He stepped hard, and the whole man rose into the sky and left the third mountain. The sixth mountain, in the manor where Jian Wushuang lives. A graceful figure was standing by the railing, holding a bag of fish food in his hand, and dropping it, which caused thousands of koi in the lake to turn over, and the scene was quite spectacular. Frost. At that moment, she gently wrapped her arms around the graceful figure's waist, and then a soft voice sounded behind her ears. Lung Rushuang didn't panic, but smiled. Fu Jun, you're out of customs so soon? Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. Shuang'er, I haven't seen you for 3,000 years. I think the breath on your body is about to break through the fourth level to dominate the realm, right? Well, it's coming soon. Lung Rushuang nodded. She had broken through earlier than Jian Wushuang to reach the third level, and because she had absorbed the heart of the astral world, her potential was equally huge. Up to now, the seventh rule has almost merged, and the breakthrough reaches the fourth level, which is also within easy reach. It is a pity that cold as frost is not a special life in the end. She cannot obtain many resources in the palace of life. Otherwise, she can go to Wudao River and practice for thousands of years like Zhen Wushuang, and it is estimated that she can break through. After returning from Wudaohe, Zhen Wushuang remained in his manor house, and was always with his wife. Until 3 years later. Zhen Wushuang, come to me quickly. The blood of supreme blood suddenly sounded in Zhen Wushuang's mind. Zhen Wushuang's eyebrows lifted. Blood supreme is one of the chief supremes of Life Shrine. If there is nothing, he will not be summoned easily. Now he not only summoned to him personally, but also used the word speed to come, just in case something urgent happened. Shuang'er, Bloodwave Supreme is looking for me. You are here for a while. Zhen Wushuang said hello to Lung Rushuang and did not dare to delay, and hurried to Bloodwave Supreme. Under the guidance of Supreme Bloodwave, Zhen Wushuang soon came to a towering temple. Upon entering the temple, Zhen Wushuang's pupils could not help shrinking. The atmosphere is so dignified. I saw an old man sitting on the main seat in the main hall, exuding a decaying old man, the supreme of the blood waves and the great axe sitting on the vice of the old man. His expressions were extremely serious. Under the 3 of them, more than 20 special lives at the ultimate dominating level are sitting in critical condition, and their looks are not very good looking. Chapter 41-35. 2 more arrived today. Inside the temple. Jiang Wushuang, I'll be short of you. Bloodwave Supreme glanced at Zhen Wushuang, his eyes suddenly flashed, and he could naturally see that Zhen Wushuang had now reached the 4th level to dominate the realm. This little guy, the breakthrough speed is really fast. Looking back, Bloodwave Supreme knew that now is not the time to recount the old, so he pressed down what he wanted to say and introduced the identity of the old man sitting in the main position. I introduce to you, this one next to me is Supreme Governance. Extreme Gav, Supreme Blood, Supreme Giant Axe. Zhen Wushuang immediately bowed to salute, with awe in his eyes. Inside these 3 supremes, it is natural that there is no need to say more. As for this Gava Supreme, during his time in the Palace of Life, I have heard people say that he is the oldest and strongest top supreme among the 5 chief supremes. Sit down. Bloodwave Supreme waved his hand, and then glanced at the special lives of all the dominating levels in the House of Justice. He said lightly, there are a lot of masters in the final level of the Palace of my life, but I am able to get away now, and those with the ultimate dominance and above are almost here. Although the supreme words were bland, everyone in the room could hear their hearts tightly. Zhen Wushuang's heart moved even more. Obviously, they were summoned by the top ultimate masters this time. The more than 20 people present were the ultimate masters at the top level, but he was only the 4th level. It stands to reason that he shouldn't have appeared at this party, but the Supreme Master of Blood, he called him intentionally. Now that everyone is here, let's just talk directly. Gafu Supreme's eyes became murky. Everyone in the ancient ruins found in the Hongyong starfield 10,000 years ago should have heard about 1 or 2. Then hundreds of years before the Chaos Era, an invincible Supreme fell. There are many invincible Supremes left behind, fortunate to create. And our Life Shrine was also sent to a team looking for opportunities, but not long ago, the team in my Life Shrine was in trouble. Is something wrong? As soon as the voice of Supreme Lord Gafu fell, many of the ultimate masters in the Hall of Argument were shocked, and the scene immediately became agitated. Not to say that ancient ruins can only be accessed by practitioners below the Supreme Realm, and there is no danger in it. Yeah, our shrine sent a team to the ruins to look for opportunities, but the leader of the Chasing the Wind, the Chasing the King in the ultimate level is almost invincible, no matter what. In the case of the Supreme, you should not what's going to happen. Many of the ultimate masters present frowned. About the ancient ruins, they all know 1 or 2. It is said that it was the place where hundreds of prehistoric chaos predecessors, the invincible supremes of the universe, who had been so famous in the universe, fell. Most of Taro's reputation has been heard. At that time, the universe was notorious at the time, but it was the invincible strongest in the entire universe. The Taro kingdom that he opened up with his own hands was the hegemon of the universe. In terms of strength, the Taro kingdom is much stronger than many kingdoms in the universe today. But I don't know why. The Taro Supreme, who was gaining momentum at that time, has caused all the heavenly figures. Not only has he fallen down, but even the Taro kingdom that he opened up has been wiped out. What an invincible Supreme, plus a kingdom of God. Even though hundreds of times of chaos have passed, there have been people who have never given up, looking for the place where Taro's body has fallen in the universe. If you think about it, you can think of Taro's invincible and supreme identity. His family is absolutely amazing. In addition, he is also the lord of a kingdom of God. The entire accumulation of the kingdom of Tara's kingdom of God was held by Tara Supreme. No one knows that when the kingdom of Tai Luo was wiped out, was the history of Tai Luo God Kingdom buried with Tai Luo Supreme? It can be said that this is an opportunity enough to make the Supreme jealous. Therefore, thousands of years ago, when the place where Tai Luo died appeared in the universe, countless people were crazy, and the whole universe was a sensation. Many of the Supreme Strong, even the Invincible Supreme, were shocked and shot in rush to the Taro ruins. However, to their disappointment, this Taro relics was planted with an extremely powerful prohibition. Only practitioners below the level of the Supreme Realm were allowed to enter. Anyone who entered the Supreme Realm would suffer huge rebound. In the face of this ban, even the Invincible Supreme is helpless. If it is forcibly shot, this ancient ruin will only be destroyed automatically. Therefore, the top forces in all sides of the universe had to send their majesties' peak powers at the level of to enter the ruins to compete for the opportunity left by Tai Luo Supreme. The Palace of Life, as a top force in the universe, naturally will not fall, so it sent a team composed entirely of the ultimate dominator. The leader is the almost invincible King of the Wind in the ultimate domination. The King of the Wind itself is a creature of life. He has developed nearly 80% of his innate advantages. His strength is thousands of times that of ordinary practitioners, and he has a certain understanding of the laws of the universe. Under the premise that he cannot be exalted, no one is reasonable. What he can do is right. Not long ago, the palace received a message of help from the King of the Wind, but before the palace responded, the news of the King of the Wind was interrupted, and then the palace tried to contact the other masters of that team. But there was no reply from one person, so it seems that the team is afraid that it is already more fierce and less powerful, and the King of the Wind may also have fallen. Gafu Supreme said. As soon as this remark was made, there was an uproar in the hall of the council. The ultimate dominating squad annihilated? Even the King of the Wind has fallen? Grunts in the temple, there are heavy gasping sounds. At the beginning, these ultimate masters were only in the ruins, and they were a piece of fat cake that they could plunder, but now they can't help but feel half-cooled. The King of the Wind is dead in it, and in the ultimate dominion present, few ask themselves to beat the King of the Wind. Moreover, at the level of ultimate domination, victory is victory, killing is another matter. Supreme Gap took a good look at the expressions of everyone in the Hall of Dedication, and the expression on his face did not change. He said lightly, "The matter of the Tail Ruins is of great importance, and the treasures and opportunities in it are enough for any party in the universe. The forces attach great importance to it, and our Shrine of Life can never give up. Therefore, the old man intends to send a dominating team from the shrine to enter it, and by the way, figure out what is going on with them." Chapter 41-36. The first is more. Enter the ruins. This. After the words of Gavra Supreme fell, the ultimate dominator in the presence frowned, and there was a hint of hesitation on his face. If it was before today, Supreme Gav asked if they wanted to enter the ruins to look for opportunities and good fortune. Naturally, they were 10,000 willing, but in the news just conveyed by Supreme GV, even the King of the Wind died. It makes people think deeply. What is the strength of the King of the Wind? The leader in the ultimate level has an almost invincible existence, and even he died in the ruins. The ultimate dominator present asked himself. If he encounters the same crisis, his chances of survival can be worse than the King of the Wind. To be low. Immediately, there were several weaker ultimate masters, who quietly bowed their heads, fearing that they would be seen by the Supreme Lord and sent into the ruins. Extreme Bloodwave, The next thing is to choose the person who will enter the ruins of Tai Luo, and I will leave it to you. The old man has another thing, and then he will take a step. He left the temple. Yes. Bloodwave Supreme nodded his head, then glanced at the ultimate masters in the house of discussion, shaking his head secretly. What are these people's minds, he naturally knows, but from the beginning, he did not intend to choose those weak masters. Those who entered the ruins of Tai Luo had someone in his mind. Zitong is dominating. Chiba Lord. Qing Feng Hu. Bloodwave Supreme ordered 5 names in a row before stopping. These 5 people are the most powerful among the top ultimate dominators. Like the master of Zitong and the god of Chiba, they all realize a trace of the law of the universe. Among the ultimate masters, they are also the pinnacles. Even compared with the King of the Wind, it is not much worse. The other 3 are also very capable. 5 of you, are you willing to go to the ruins of Tai Luo to look for opportunities and investigate the death of the King of the Wind Chaser? Shuebwa Supreme asked. The 5 people who had been called to the name by Bloodwave Supreme looked at each other, but all frowned. Extreme blood. Dominated by the purple pupil with a pair of weird purple eyes, Shun said, it would be no problem for me to wait to go to the ancient ruins, but the team led by the King of Winds all encountered unexpectedness in the ruins, and a team of 5 people may not be weaker than the team of the King of the Wind, but in terms of personal strength, none of the 5 of us are the opponents of the King of the Wind. If you let me wait for the 5 to form a team, it would be a bit wrong to go there. You're right, even the King of the Wind team has encountered an accident. It would not be enough if only 5 of you went forward, so I would have chosen a leader for you. Bloodwave Supreme smiled. 9 calamities, call. A figure suddenly appeared in the center of the temple, and it was the 9 kings of white hair. And when I saw King Zhoujia, the eyes of 5 people who had been worried about Zitong dominated immediately. King Zhoujia, that is the strongest in the level of the life shrine, even called the strongest in the entire universe, is not an exaggeration. But he can fight against the Supreme. In the ancient ruins, the Supreme cannot be found out. Who will be the opponent of the King of 9 Calamities? If the team is led by King 9 Calamities, the risk will be much reduced. King of the 9 Calamities. The Supreme Bloodwave overlooked King Zhoujia below, and said, go to the ruins of Tai Luo this time, and you will lead the team. Yes. King Zhoujia stepped forward, and his face couldn't stop the joy. As early as 10,000 years ago, when the ruins of Tai Luo just came out of the world, he wanted to go, but at that time he had another burden on his body, so that the King of the Chasing Wind took the lead and went to the ruins of Deluo. Now that the King of the Wind is dying, the Shrine of Life needs to send another team to the ruins of Tai Luo. For the quota of this team, he has long been jealous. Even if He Bo-Zun did not say it, he would ask him to go to Tai Luo remains. Bloodwave Supreme nodded, and then looked again at the other ultimate masters in the hall. Wait. The 5 pupils previously named Zitong dominated the 5, and all of them also arched. Seeing this, he nodded with satisfaction. The 5 people, plus King 9, are the weakest ones who dominate the top combat power. Among them are Zitong and Chiba, who are almost invincible. In the ancient ruins, even if you can't get the treasure inside, if you want to encounter a crisis, you can at least retreat from your body. Okay, 6 of you go back and prepare, and leave in 3 months, and go to the ruins of Tai Luo. Supreme Bloodwave ordered. Yes. 6 people, such as the King of 9 Robbers, responded suddenly. Well, with the exception of Jian Wushuang, everyone else has dispersed. Bloodwave Supreme shook his hands, and the ultimate masters dispersed. When they walked out of the door of the Hall of Deliberation, they could not help but look at the sword named Wu Shuang, who was named by the Supreme Master of Blood, with a strange look on their faces. As the ultimate masters departed, the hall of the council became quiet, and the Bloodwave Supreme and the Great Axe Supreme, who had been stagnant, showed a smile on their faces after looking at Xiong Zhenshuang. Little guy, 3,000 years broke through to the 4th level to dominate the realm, but it was faster than I thought. Bloodwave Supreme smiled slightly. Jian Wushuang heard the words and quickly arched. Thank you all for the guidance of Shuebwa seniors. If it wasn't for Shuebwa seniors who told me about Wu Daohe, I would not be able to break through the 4th level master so quickly. Oh, Wu Daohe is not a secret in the Palace of Life, you will know it naturally, no need to thank you. Xie Zhuang smiled brightly. The three didn't say much, and Jian Wushuang asked, Extreme Blood, you left me deliberately, presumably for the sake of Taro's ruins? As early as when he entered the hall of discussion, Jian Wushuang noticed that all the people who were present today were the ultimate level master, but Bloodwave Supreme deliberately circulated to him and asked him to come to a fourth level master, and then when the meeting broke up, the Supreme Master of Bloodwaves specifically named him to stay and wanted to think about it. Naturally, it was not just to say a few words to him, but to the ruins of Tai Luo. Yes. Bloodwave Supreme nodded and said, Let you stay, it is indeed related to the ruins of Tai Luo. You also know that the ancient ruins and even an invincible Supreme have left countless numbers in the period. Chances and creations, and many of them will have an incredible effect on you who are just the masters. Chapter 413, The Leader, page 11, bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 4137. Two more arrived today. Jian Wushuang, I have already discussed with the giant axe. This time the King of Nine Calamities will go to the ancient ruins. I will let them take you and go together. Even if you do get too much chance in it, go see it. A big gain. After all, there are now a large number of powerful masters in the ruins, even the top ultimate masters, and even the ultimate masters of invincible levels, there are a lot of them there. Bloodwave Supreme laughed. Want me to go? Jian Wushuang frowned, followed by the sideline. If I can, I will naturally go, but this time the weakest in the ruins is the top ultimate dominator, and I, just the fourth rank dominated will it. Are you still worried that you will drag their hind legs? Bloodwave Supreme looked at it with interest. Jian Wushuang, if I am not wrong, your current strength will not be weaker than the top ultimate dominator. How much? Jian Wushuang stunned, and a strange smile appeared on his face. I have already counted with the giant axe before. You used to be the third level to dominate the level, but because of the power of 8,000 times that of ordinary practitioners, plus the willpower given to you by the laws of the universe, you in terms of strength, it will not be weaker than the ultimate master, and your perception of the laws of the universe will far exceed that of the master. Coupled with your talents and supernatural powers, your combat power should not be weaker than the top ultimate master. Now, you have already broken through to the fourth level, where there are only 8,000 times the divine power. You can be equivalent to the general ultimate master, plus that willpower, you are absolutely not inferior in strength. At the top of the ultimate domination, and finally counting your very high understanding of the laws of the universe, I estimate that your current combat strength is a lot stronger than the average top of the ultimate domination. Maybe it is no better than the master of the purple pupil. Chiba God, it's going to be weak. Can I be right? Shuebua Supreme smiled and looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang could not help but smile. Sure enough, as he battled the King of the Nine Calamities in the trial ground and exposed some of his own methods, the Bloodwave Supreme could easily determine his specific strength now. Indeed, although he is now the fourth level dominating level in the realm, as the Bloodwave Supreme has said, in terms of real combat power, he is much stronger than the average top-level ultimate dominator. And this is only known to the Supreme Master of Blood. Before the battle in the proving ground, Jian Wushuang still had some methods that had not been used, such as the 3 talents of magic. He only used one. There is also the mystery of dragon extermination, which he has never performed. In short, his current combat power is very strong, at least at the level of domination. It is very, very tyrannical. Coupled with his 68,000-mile-high body, he can accumulate endless divine power. As long as he is not supreme, he is not afraid of anyone. With such strength, Natural Sword Wushuang cannot drag the team behind Zhu Jiwang's team. The Taro ruins contain great opportunities, and there are a lot of top masters in the universe gathered there. Jian Wushuang did have a longing for Taro ruins. He did want to go inside and go through it. If he could get some chance or good fortune, it would be better. I'd love to go with them, I just don't know they can't stand me. Jian Wushuang smiled. You don't need to worry about this, after all, you will definitely have a chance to take the shot when you are in the ruins of Tai Luo. At that time, you will prove it to them. Bloodwave Supreme laughed. That line. Jian Wushuang nodded. Bloodwave Supreme turned his right hand, and in his hand, a dark black armor appeared. This war armor has a very strong breath of laws, which is truly a top-quality rule. Sword warriors, this warframe is for you. Bloodwave Supreme looked at sword warriors, and said, this warframe, although it is only the highest level of top-quality rules, is not very precious, but I am in the warframe. A mark of divine power was left on it. This mark of divine power was intentionally left by me based on the power restrictions of the heavy law formations in the ruins of Taro. Although there are many chances in the Taro ruins, there are also great dangers. Even their team of the King of the Wind has encountered unexpected events, and although this time led by the stronger King of the Nine Robbers, it is difficult to guarantee. Therefore, if you encounter fierce danger in the Taro ruins, you can directly urge this mark of divine power. He can erupt the ultimate power that can be reached in the Taro ruins, which is the most powerful power in the dominating level. This might not be unexpected, and it should be a few points stronger than the strongest blow from King Jotei. You can save it for life or kill the enemy. Blood Supreme explained. Jian Wushuang heard, but his look was a move. In itself, it is the top-level armor of the top-grade rule, coupled with the imprint of the divine power left by the Supreme of Bloodwave, which can erupt the most extreme power that the ruins can achieve in the Tara ruins. This armor, extraordinary value. Xianbo Senior. Jian Wushuang looked at Xingbo Supreme. Hold it, but you personally led me to the Temple of Life. Even the giant axe gave you a of goodness as a meeting gift. Naturally, I can't let it go. Bloodwave Supreme laughed. Jian Wushuang's brows lifted, and he no longer played up his emotions, and put this armor into the ring of Chenkuan. After 3 months, you will set out with the King of Nine Calamities and others to go to the ruins of Tai Luo. In these 3 months, you can hurry up and refine this warframe first. Bloodwave Supreme rode. Yes. Jian Wushuang arched his hand and quickly left the temple. The 6th mountain, in the manor where Jian Wushuang is located. Jian Wushuang told Lung Rushuang about going to the ruins of Tai Luo 3 months later. When I heard it as cold as frost, my heart immediately raised a hint of worry. Fu Jun, the Taro ruins are gathered by the top batch of masters in the universe. It all happened unexpectedly, and you were just the 4th level master. Before the words were as cold as frost, Jian Wushuang waved his hand and laughed. Relax, it may not be the best in that Taro ruins with my strength, but if it is just for life, few people should be able to remember me. Jian Wushuang really has absolute confidence in his life-saving means. In addition, the endless divine power contained in the 68,000-mile-high body alone is enough to despair any practitioner below. Not to mention, he also has life-saving talents and supernatural powers, and now you are bestowed with his top-class rule treasure. In 3 months, I first refined this rule of precious armor and refining it, so that in the ruins of Tai Luo, I can truly ensure worry-free. Jian Wushuang began to refining the armor immediately. 3 chapters were added before, and there should be a few chapters left. We will continue to make up these days. Don't worry. Chapter 137th Rule of Top-Grade Arcana Warframe, page 11, bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 4138. The first is more. Time flies. Blink of an eye is 3 months later. In front of a giant cosmic passage of life, 6 people, including King Jojia, Zhu Zizhu, and Chiba God, have already waited there. Extreme Bloodwaves summoned me before, and said that this time to the team of Tai Luo ruins, in addition to the 6 of us, 1 person will join our team. Guess, who will that person be? Shi Luyun Black, wearing a purple gold crown, purple orns flickered in his eyes, and smiled curiously. In the Palace of Life, although there are still many ultimate masters who have reached the top level, but they are strong and can free up their hands for the time being, they should be among 6 of me. As for the 7th person, just don't hinder us, just do it. Chiba is hanging on the waist. Chiba with a clear face dominates the indifference. It's hard to say. Qing Feng, who also spoke. Zitong dominated several people to discuss casually. Obviously, the 7th person who suddenly came in line was not very impressed. Of the 6, The only white-haired King Jojia did not participate in the discussion. He had his hands on his back, stood calmly, and had no emotion on his face. For him, the trial team, one more person, or one less, will not have any impact on him. This time he entered the ruins of Tai Luo, in his eyes, only himself. As for the others, Wat Zitong dominates and Chiba God the King does not even bother to look at him. Call out. As everyone discussed, a stream of light suddenly swept from the sky at an extremely fast speed. At the beginning, the streamer was just a small black spot on the horizon. After a few breaths, the streamer continued to enlarge and stood in front of them. Come here. Everyone raised their eyelids and stared at them. I saw the streamer burst, revealing a cold figure in black. Sword unparalleled. It turned out to be him. The seventh person is Jian Wushuang. Has not the fourth-level master. Let's make fun. Dominion Zitong and others looked at each other with a flash of sorrow on their faces, but after just looking at each other, they all agreed, and Chongjian Wushuang showed a friendly smile. They can become the leader of the ultimate dominating level. Naturally, no one will be a fool. The talent and potential of Jian Wushuang have been placed in front of them. That is enough to fight with the 9 kings in the trial field. When he won, he was only worse than the king of 9 calamities. Not surprisingly, this sword Wushuang will not say supreme in the future, but at least it is also at the level of King Jojia, and it is invincible among the masters. For such a genius that can be expected in the future, Zitong Master and others are naturally reluctant to make sarcastic remarks, and easily dislike them. Jian Wushuang, I can't imagine that this 7th person will be you. What fun is your 4th-level master over here? The Zhu Jiewang, who has not been silent, now narrows his eyes to Jian Wushuang and sneers. King of the 9th calamity. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold and his expression indifferent. Would I not bother you if I was going to make fun? After hearing the words, Zhu Jiewang raised his eyebrows and sneered even more. I am the leader of this squad. During this time, you'd better obey my order, otherwise something will happen, but don't blame me for being dead. Jian Wushuang heard a sneer and made no noise. This scene fell into the eyes of the other 5 masters, shaking their heads with a bitter smile. They all knew what happened before Jian Wushuang and Zhu Jiewang, and it was clear that both Zhu Jiewang and Jian Wushuang were proud people. They wouldn't be surprised if this scene appeared. 2 people, this time we are a team going to the ancient ruins, and there are a lot of hidden dangers in the ancient ruins. I think the 2 are more friendly. Zitong dominated the round field. Lunghung of Zhu Jiewang snorted and didn't say much. Now that everyone is here, let's go. Immediately the cosmic passage opened, and 7 people entered the cosmic passage directly. Through the cosmic passage, although it is not possible to directly reach the Hongyong starfield where the Tala ruins are located, it can also save a lot of time. In the vast universe, galaxies cross each other, and the stars are dotted on the sky, forming a bright sea of stars, a huge black cosmic boat, like a meteor, quickly passing through the starry sky, dragging a long tail flame. The place where the Tara ruins emerge is located in a corner of the deep universe. Even if a lot of time has been saved through the cosmic passage, and then ride a higher-ranking cosmic boat, all the way through the cosmic void, it will still travel for thousands of years. The next starfield is Hongyong starfield. It only takes about another 100 years to reach the Tara ruins. In the spaceboat, Chiba King looked at the bright star sea in front, looking rather excited. For nearly 1,000 years, they all spent time in the cosmic boat, facing the lonely universe all day long. They were a little bit impatient. Now that the ruins of Tai Luo are close to their eyes, they cannot help but feel a little excited. Dominion of Zitong is laughing. Speaking of which, the geographical location of Hongyong starfield is among the many large starfields in the universe. Although it is a bit remote, it is still quite prosperous. It has broken through and reached the supreme level. If this lord of Hongyong starfield knows how to operate, at most dozens of chaos ages, he will be able to gain a firm footing in the depths of the universe. Unfortunately, the Taro ruins are in Hongyong. Born in Daxingyu. And after Hongyong Supreme found the ruins of Tai Luo, he wanted to swallow the ruins alone, and he didn't want to think that he was just an ordinary Supreme. How could he seize this opportunity by himself? inflicted a terrible calamity on myself. Not only was he directly killed by others, but also all the sects of the powers in the Hongyong starfield were wiped out by one hand. Today, except for the Taro ruins, the entire Hongyong starfield it's no different from the wasteland. Everyone was talking, and they looked a little excited about the approaching tail ruins. Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged in a corner and slowly opened his eyes. For thousands of years, he has completely refined and controlled the rules given to him by the Supreme Master of Blood, and has adjusted all aspects of his body to the peak. He has completely lived in the fourth-level dominion, and has more or less strength. Some refinement. The centuries have passed, and the spacecraft in which Jian Wushuang and his party have arrived has arrived in the Hongyong starfield and set off toward the ruins of Tailuo. In this century, there are also cosmic boats constantly coming from other places, rendering the starry sky extremely bright. Vertex. Chapter 41-39. 2 more arrived today. In the spacecraft are the people of the Great Sun God Kingdom. They are also here. That was the spaceship of the Taishu Temple. Alas, I heard that Taishu Shenzong has recently given out a powerful ultimate master. I don't know if that ultimate master has come this time. Well, are they from the Blood Temple? The people in the Blood Temple have always been fascinated. I have never heard of them for so many years, and I did not expect that this time they also sent the Lord to control the ruins of Terra. It has only been more than 10,000 years since the discovery of the Taro ruins. It is said that the ruins have only been developed to less than 10%. All forces in the universe, no matter how strong or weak, are eager for this Taro ruins. Knowing that the inside is dangerous, and there are many powerful forces involved, but they are still sent by. Dominated by Zitong and others, they watched the starry sky constantly passing through some giant cosmic boats through the black light mirror of the cosmic boat and shook their heads to discuss. Each of them held a roll of sheepskin, which recorded the basic situation of some Taro ruins. There is also a copy of the sword without hands. This sheepskin roll is given to them by the Supreme of Bloodwave. The content recorded above is the content of the message returned by the team of the King of the Wind before roaming in the Taro ruins. According to the information above, this Taro ruins should be a big secret opened by Tao Supreme before his death that year. The inside is vast and boundless, and the King of Winds guessed that this secret should be more than one layer. But how many levels there are in the mystery, they don't know. Anyway, for thousands of years, he was spinning on the first floor. More than one layer? Jian was eyes narrowed. He remembered the red cloud mystery that he had entered, and there were 3 layers in the red cloud mystery, and he had a great chance in the red cloud mystery. At the end of the sheepskin roll, it was also mentioned that the King of the Wind seemed to have found the entrance to the 2nd floor of the Taro ruins before, and was preparing to find a way to enter the 2nd floor. But at this time, the Squad King team encountered a crisis, and the whole army was not there. What happened to the King of the Wind in the ruins of Tailuo? Was it killed by other forces, or was there any danger or crisis in the 2nd floor? Jian Wushuang closed the sheepskin roll and frowned slightly. If it is the former, it is possible to kill the King of the Wind, and to destroy the whole team of the King of the Wind, then the strength of the opponent is bound to be very good. However, if it is the latter, it means that the ruins of Tailuo are not only all opportunities, but also a major crisis. Shaking his head, Jian Wushuang no longer thought about it. Soon, Jian Wushuang 7 arrived at the entrance of the Taro ruins. This Hongyong starfield is deserted, and the Taro ruins are quite prosperous in front of the entrance. The major forces set up camps outside the Taro ruins. Some restaurants, dongays, and trading markets came into being. Jian Wushuang even saw the Jodi Pavilion outside the Taro ruins. Let's go. King 9 Calamities took the sword Wushuang 6 people, walked down the spacecraft, waved his hand, and put away the spacecraft. At the moment when the 7 swordsmen came out of the spacecraft, countless eyes immediately looked at them. Most of these eyes are focused on the King of 9 Calamities. They are the masters of the Shrine of Life. The one headed by is the King of 9 Calamities. King of Calamities. He came. It is said that these 9 kings of calamity are the perfect life in the legend, and they have stayed for dozens of chaos in the ultimate level. Before their combat power, they were almost comparable to the Supreme. But the 9 Kings is undoubtedly the strongest one. For the ruins of Tai Luo, the Temple of Life sent him all out? In the crowd, many of the ultimate masters looked at the King of Jolong with a hint of fear. There is no way, the fame of King Jojia in the universe is really too great. The identity of the perfect life in the legend alone has to make people pay attention to him. What's more, she has stayed at the level of ultimate for dozens of times of chaos. Even her perception of the laws of the universe is extremely high. No one would dare to ignore such an ultimate master. Compared to the King of 9 Robbers, the other 6 people were obviously covered by King of 9 Robbers. In fact, like Zitong and Chiba, they are almost invincible among the ultimate masters. Among the many ultimate masters on the field, they are also top-notch, and their reputation is not small. Unfortunately, everyone around them only pays attention to the 9 Kings. However, few people care about them. Chiba, have you seen that? They are all talking about the King of 9 Robbers. Zitong dominated with a smile. In terms of strength, the King of 9 Calamities is indeed a lot stronger than the 2 of us, but no matter how you say, you and I should not be completely ignored. Chiba Shinjun said coldly. It is estimated that there are too many ultimate dominators from the Terra ruins, and the top ones have also come a lot. You and I are not as impressive as the King of the 9 Kings. The pupil of Zitong smiled. Indeed, the birth of the Terra ruins this time attracted too many ultimate masters. All forces in the universe have sent the ultimate masters, and some of them have their peaks. Nearly invincible ultimate masters, such as Zitong Master and Chiba God Prince, there are many in the Tara ruins, and naturally they pay less attention to them. But the King of 9 Kings is different. The King of 9 Kings, but in the vast universe, the ultimate master, at least can be ranked in the top 3. More people naturally pay attention. Suddenly, a figure without any sign appeared in front of the 7 members of Jian Wushuang. King of Calamity, it's been a long time since I saw him. The cold voice also started to differ. Everyone heard the sound, and saw a young man in a black robe with a hooked nose, staring grimly at King Jojia. Yin Peng, are you? The pupil of Jujiawang shrank then sneered. Yin Peng, you fortunately escaped from my hand 3 million years ago. I was still worried that I could not find you. You are still returning, dare to appear in front of me? The hawk-nosed man named Yin Peng flashed a cold mang in his eyes and said coldly, King of the 9 Calamities, do you know it was 3 million years ago? 3 million years is enough to do a lot of things. Since you have also come to this Taro ruins this time, let's resolve the grievances between you and me together. Anytime. The King of Jojia smiled coldly without fear. Joke, with his strength, who can do him or among the masters? The hawk-nosed man turned his gaze and looked at Zitong Juju and others. His gaze swept away from several people such as Zitong Juju. The cold gaze stared at them. Suddenly, his eyes stopped. Chapter 4140. The first is more. Am not mistaken. Among your people, there is still a 4th-level master. The hawk-nosed man raised a brow, but then sneered directly, haha. The Temple of Life, are you human? Did you let a 4th-level master come over to make fun? Is it for cannon fodder? His loud laughter also attracted the attention of many strong players around him. 4th grade dominates? Well, really. In the ruins of Tai Luo, the ultimate dominator is everywhere, and even the top of the ultimate dominator exists. There are many 4th-level masters who come here to do what? A 4th-level master will also enter the Tara ruins. Shall he die? Many strong players around laughed secretly. It's normal. There are too many strong people attracted by the Taro ruins. Even if it is the ultimate dominator, it seems very ordinary in the Taro ruins, and will not be seen more. And a 4th-level dominated, naturally, no one sees it. Perceived all kinds of strange gazes around him, Jian's eyes stared slightly, but he did not say anything. King of the 9 Calamities, I have some sympathy for you, because I have never been able to break through and become supreme. I have not seen much in the Temple of Life. Now I have to wait for an opportunity to come to this Taro ruins. To bring a towing oil bottle, haha. The man with a hawk nose laughed wantonly. Yin Peng, if you are tickling now, I don't mind, now I will fight with you in this battle. The King of Nine Calves looked at the man with a hawk nose. You and I fight, or wait until the ruins. The hawk-nosed man laughed, stopped talking nonsense, and turned away. The dominators of the forces from all sides around have also retreated. King of the Nine Calamities, it seems that we have all been spotted before we have entered the ruins of Tai Luo. The god of Chiba said lowly. But one of his men was defeated. 300 years ago, he just managed to escape in front of me, and this time if he dared to come to the door again, I would just shot him and kill him. King Jujiadao. I hope so. Chiba god smiled coldly. He knew that Yin Peng, the hawk-nosed man, had just dominated. In terms of fame, this Yin Peng dominates the universe. It is indeed not as big as the King of Nine Calamities, but his strength is definitely not weak. Especially the perception of the laws of the universe is said to have reached a very high level, plus some with special mystery techniques. This Yin Peng dominates the countless ultimate masters in the vast universe. It can definitely be ranked in the top 20. It is a very difficult ultimate master. If it is 1-to-1, whether it is Chiba King or Zitong, it is not necessarily the opponent that Yin Peng dominates. This has not yet entered the ruins of Tai Luo, and it has been targeted by such a powerful master. This is naturally not a good thing for their team. Well, stop talking nonsense, and get ready to enter the ruins of Tai Luo. King Zhoujia said. A group of 7 people had reached the entrance of the Tara ruins. In the empty space, a vertical bronze giant gate traverses the starry sky. The giant gate is engraved with the 2 characters Taro. In addition, there are countless mysterious lines on the border of the giant gate, exuding an ancient atmosphere. This is the entrance to the ruins of Tai Luo. Just walk through this giant bronze gate to enter the ruins of Tai Luo. 6 of you are in the ruins, follow me well, or if you have caused any trouble, I don't have the time to save you, do you understand? Especially you, Jian Wushuang. When entering the ruins, leave at the forefront of the 9 kings of the 9 kings took a hand, with a cold face, turned back with a warning sign. For King Jujia's warning, the sword nodded without expression on both sides, but Chiba Shenjun and others seemed a little disapproved. Zitong, you and I are also the best among the ultimate masters. Is it necessary for him to protect the king of the 9 kings? What is his attitude towards us along the way? Well, don't say if you will encounter any troubles in this Tara ruins, even if you do, it is probably enough for you and I to join forces. It is probably enough to balance it out. Why should he be the king of the 9? When Tong was in charge of the communication, she was obviously a little bit uneven. Chiba, let us say a few words. You still do know the king of the 9 calamities? You have always been arrogant and you do take us seriously in the Temple of Life. Now it's normal to speak a little bit. After all, his strength it's better than us, let him be. The master of Zitong said with a smile, but in his tone, I do know why people always have a strange feeling of yin and yang. Haha, in the trial ground, was defeated by a 3rd-level master, can you not be strong? The 2 looked at each other with a tacit understanding, and said nothing more. A few moments later, under the leadership of King Josai, a group of 7 people stepped into the bronze giant gate of Tai Luo ruins. The 7 men first passed through a dark void, then they suddenly lighted up before they saw that they had fallen into a huge expansive plain. This is the ruins of Taro? Sure enough, my soul's power is obviously released, and the coverage is quite wide, but there is no one in my soul's coverage. Said. In the present Tail ruins, no accident should be dominated everywhere, and the branch should be quite dense. And an ultimate master, the soul coverage is naturally extremely wide. As a result, within the soul coverage of Chiba God, no one has encountered it, which shows that the space of this Taro ruins is indeed very vast. Well, the aura here is also quite strong. If you practice here, 1 day of training, I'm afraid it's worth 3 days of training outside. Zitong dominated with a smile. Several other members of the squad were also watching the surroundings. And Jian Wushuang, after stepping into the ruins of Tai Luo, His brows lifted instantly. Here, the rich origins of Kendo universe. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. He could sense that the buildings and mountains and rivers in the Taro ruins should have been opened up by Taro Supreme Sword. The peaks of each mountain in it were extremely smooth, cut by a sword and made ordinary. This made him wonder how amazing the power of Tai Luo Supreme was that he could become the world with one sword. Jian Wushuang, speaking of this Tai Luo ruins, among the 7 of us, it should be your best chance. Qing Feng, who was next to Jian Wushuang, suddenly smiled and said, "Oh." Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and looked at Qing Feng Shenhu. "God, how do you say that?" Jian Wushuang, you may not know. Although this Tai Luo Supreme was at the highest level of the Supreme, but there is still a slight gap compared to the Invincible Supreme. Qing Feng explained with a smile. Chapter 41-41. 2 more arrived today. The reason why Taro Supreme later became Invincible Supreme and created such a great reputation in the vast universe is largely because of the Taro Great Sword in his hand. Qing Feng Shenhu said. Taro Excalibur? Jian Wushuang's eyes showed curiosity. Regarding Tai Luo Supreme, he didn't know much about it except knowing that he was an Invincible Supreme level universe master. Qing Feng nodded his head and replied, no one has ever been able to master the genius of Kendo's Kendo. In the universe at the time, he had the title of Kendo Supreme. He died under his sword. Know how many? Even now, after hundreds of chaos eras, countless Kendo masters have sprung up in the universe, and under the light of Taro Supreme, they all look overshadowed, and no one can be called a Kendo Supreme again. Title. And that Taro sword is the help of Taro Supreme to break through the universe. It can be said that if there is no Taro sword, there will be no subsequent Taro Supreme. Of course, there is no Taro Supreme, naturally, there is no prestigious Taro Excalibur, and the two achieve each other. Jian Wushuang heard the words, nodded thoughtfully, and then asked, Qing Feng Shenhu, what about that sacred sword? Qing Feng Shenhu groaned after hearing the words and replied, I don't know about this. Some people say that the Taro Excalibur was buried in the ruins along with Taro Supreme's body, and some people said, the Taro Excalibur was taken away by the person who killed Taro Supreme. Anyway, for all these 10,000 years, there are all kinds of claims, but basically they are not enough to believe. After speaking, Qing Feng Shenhu patted the Sword Wushuo shoulder and smiled, Sword Wushuang, you don't have to fight the idea of the Taro magic sword, even if you are really lucky and find the Taro Excalibur is not a 4th-level master that you can possess. I understand this. Jian Wushuang smiled at him. Indeed, as Qing Feng Shenhu said, even if he got the Tai Luo divine sword, I was afraid that he would be hunted down by the whole universe before he had time to cover it. But it's not just the level that dominates. It is estimated that even the Supreme Strong will be tempted and desperate to get the Taro Excalibur. Well, let's go and say this is too far away. Qing Feng smiled and said, in the ruins of Tai Luo, although I haven't heard of a huge crisis, but there is no rule, it is actually the biggest, it's dangerous. Whenever you get any treasure, I am afraid that you will be attacked by the group. I heard that in the past 10,000 years, there have been many powerful ultimate masters who have been killed in the ruins. Although the King of 9 Kings is proud, he has no bad intentions, and his combat strength is extremely horrible. We only need to follow him closely and think that if we are lucky enough to get an opportunity in the ruins, we can still retreat. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. Although he did not have a good opinion of King Zhoujia, he had to say that King Zhoujia was indeed the most powerful among the 7 of them. The 7 said as they walked, although they did not deliberately rush, they were not slow. They quickly crossed the plain and reached a palace group. Seeing this, the leader of Chiba and others flashed an excitement in his eyes. He was about to search for it, and saw the king of Jolong coldly said, this palace group is so conspicuous that people have been here for more than 10,000 years. People go, you do need to know that you have been turned upside down. What are you going to find besides wasting time? Chiba's ruler heard the words, and a moment of annoyance flashed in his eyes. He was rather dissatisfied and sneered, King of the 9 Calamities, since you are the leader of our team, I don't know, what are your plans? King Zhoujia gave him a faint glance and said, This time we come to the ruins of Tai Luo. We have three main purposes. First, find the second-level entrance mentioned by the King of the Wind. This is the top priority of our visit to the ruins of Tai Luo. If I expected it to be good, it should be a space enchantment, and there the enchantment place should be extremely hidden, otherwise it will never be this 10,000-year time, and only the King of the Wind will find them. Therefore, we only need to avoid crowded places and look in remote directions. The second is to investigate the cause of the death of the King of the Wind. I have thought about it along the way. The death of the King of the Wind is nothing more than two reasons, or there are some terrorist prohibitions at the entrance to the second floor. Only then will the King of the Wind be wiped out in an instant, and even the message is too late. Or it will be stared at and killed. As soon as this sentence came to an end, everyone couldn't help but have a cold heart. The strength of the Squad King Squad was placed there, so that their squad could be wiped out, and even the information was too late to come. Therefore, in these two kinds of speculation, everyone believes the former speculation more. The King of the Nine Kings ignored the expressions of the crowd and continued, "Moreover, investigating the cause of death of the King of the Wind does not conflict with the first point. As long as the cause of the death of the King of the Wind can be found, you can master Tai Luo. The news on the second level of the ruins, as for the third point, is the opportunity to search for the ruins. However, the terrestrial ruins have a vast territory. Although all forces in the universe have searched here for tens of thousands of years, there are not many opportunities to find. In other words, a lot of opportunities are still buried in this ruin. Don't be too anxious, find out the cause of their death, and find the entrance to the second floor of the Tara relics. It is the most urgent task, so I advise you to cancel the idea of searching for opportunities." After the Jujiawang said, he took a look at the Chiba god. Chiba's face suddenly became ugly. The King of Jolong said this in front of the owner of the team, but then looked at him with such eyes, the meaning was too obvious. Seems to be persuading everyone, but actually is warning him. "King of Nine Calamities, what do you mean?" Chiba's voice was cold. "What do you mean, you know in your heart?" King Jojia gave him a slight glance. "You." Chiba God Prince just wanted to get angry and was caught by the Master of Zitong. I saw the Master of Zitong shook his head slightly at him, begging him not to take sway. When Chiba saw this, he snorted coldly, and didn't bother to look at the King of Jolong. Among the 7 people, Jen was eyes and noses and eyes were like the old monk, and his emotions on his face didn't change much. The speculation of King Jojia is quite similar to what he thought. Although he also longed for any chance in the ruins of Tai Luo, he did not force it. After all, chance is about a word of fate, and it was originally forced. What's more, if something extraordinary happened in the Taro ruins, it will surely cause a sensation, and they don't need to actively seek it out. Chapter 41-42. The first is more. As time passed, 7 people, such as Jian Wushuang and Zhu Jiawang, blinked in eyes, and they have been in the ruins of Tai Luo for 10 years. In the ruins of Tai Luo, there are many masters. Because there are no rules at all, assassination is extremely frequent. Even if there is no resentment between each other, it is also possible to fight against the treasures of the opponent. In the past 10 years, Jian Wushuang had seen them many times, but in the past 10 years, there was no unscrupulous master to provoke them. After all, their 7-member squad has a very strong overall strength, especially the King of Nine Kings, and his presence alone is enough to make most of the dominant squads in the Tail Ruins dare not fight their ideas. In the past 10 years, Jian Wushuang spent most of their time inquiring about the King of the Wind. The King of the Wind is the almost invincible existence in the ultimate master. He has a good reputation and knows many people. It is easy for them to play Jian Wushuang. In 10 years, they also got some news. However, the news they received was to make them look strange. According to the master in the Tail Ruins, the team led by the King of Winds has set off a huge storm in the Tail of Ruins 3,000 years ago, but the team of the King of Winds has disappeared since 3,000 years ago, as if the world had evaporated same. It disappeared 3,000 years ago? And if only one person said so, the key is that they asked many masters along the way and got the same answer. Jian Wushuang and others could not help but groan. The King of Winds asked for help from the Temple of Life, 1,000 years ago. After getting help from the King of the Wind, just 3 months later, they set off from the Temple of Life and went to and from this Taro ruins. So, there are 2,000 years left. Where is the King of the Wind? In those 2 millennia, the King of the Wind maintained communication with the Shrine of Life, but the Shrine of Life did not receive the slightest news from them. Just the last message of help. What's going on? These, Jian Wushuang, they cannot figure out for the time being. In addition, in the past 10 years, some things happened in the sword team of 7 swordsmen, that is, the contradiction between God of Chiba and King of 9 Calamities, which has deteriorated rapidly, and has a faint smell of gunpowder. There is no way. The King of 9 Calamities is a man of arrogance and vision. Among the masters, few people were put in his eyes. Even the Chiba gods and the Zitong masters were almost invincible among the masters, but in the eyes of the King of Jolong, they were still nothing. But Chiba and Zitong dominated, and they can reach this step at the level of dominance. They have some arrogance at the bottom of their hearts, especially Chiba, and they are not willing to live under others. Such 2 people are not in a small team. Contradictions are strange. 7 people sat cross-legged in a towering hall. Well, when do you find this? When do you have to find it? Chiba God looked gloomy, staring at Zhou Jianwang and sneered, "What, the second layer is just their speculative image. As for the King of the Wind, they are also estimated by what only when people pay attention to them will the entire army be wiped out, and since those people are ready to shoot, naturally they will not leave any traces, and we will naturally find nothing." King Zhoujia indifferent glanced at Chiba King. "What do you want to say?" Chiba God's eyes were a little stunned, and he said, "This is too much ruins, and there are many chances and treasures. Finding ways to get these treasures and chances is what we should do now, even if we can't find the chances ourselves. It is entirely possible to kill other teams or masters in the Tara ruins. At that time, we will also have a lot of gains. As for the team of the King of the Wind, let us set aside first." After that, Chiba God's eyes swept across the 7 men, including Jian Wushuang, and laughed, "What do you think of my proposal?" As soon as the words fell, everyone couldn't help but a little commotion. After all, the life and death of the King of the Wind is actually irrelevant to them. They came to the Tara ruins, basically for the chance. I think Chiba's proposal is feasible. The master of Hitami immediately echoed with a smile. The old man thinks, well, the second layer of the ruins is not a sure thing, and we are not going to look for the space enchantment of the second layer, but we should really spend more time on it. Go to find treasures. As for the death of the King of the Wind team, you can also slowly investigate. The old veteran of the 7, the master of Joyang said, bowing his head. That's right, 9 kings, we are not going to investigate the cause of the death of the King of the Wind, but just take a moment and look for the treasure first. I heard that not long ago, there was a top-quality rule in the south. When we are born, why don't we go and see together? Chi Nan, the master, also said. 3 of the 7 agreed with Chiba's words, and Chiba's mouth immediately drew a smile. He turned his gaze and looked at Jian Wushuang again, and smiled. What do you think of Jian Wushuang? He believes that, except for Qingfeng, who has always been invincible, everyone else will definitely support him. He was also confident that by then the 5 of them would work together to put pressure on the King of 9 Calamities, and even if it was the King of 9 Calamities, they would have to bow their heads. Are you asking me? Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow. Of course. Chiba Lord nodded with a smile. In his opinion, there was always a feud between Jian Wushuang and the King of Zhozai, and there was no doubt he would be on his side. There are a lot of chance treasures in the ruins of Tailuo. If you can get nature, it is good, but I am not very interested in killing other teams and masters. Jian Wushuang replied indifferently. Chiba dominated slightly. Even Zhu Jiawang looked slightly surprised at Xiong Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, do you mean, are you not planning to be with us? The other masters narrowed their eyes. The feud between Jian Wushuang and the King of 9 Calamities is in their eyes. In the past 10 years, the two have spoken less than 3 times. As a general rule, Jian Wushuang should be hostile to the King of 9 Calamities and stand with them. Only one side is right. Yes. Jian Wushuang replied faintly. Okay, sword unparalleled, then you're wasting time here with the king of 9 calamities. Chiba Shenjun completely lost his good looks at the sword unparalleled, and after a cold hum, he said, let's go. After that, 4 people, including God of Chiba, Lord of Hitami, Lord of Joyang and Lord of Chinan, left here in great strides. After the 4 of them left, the hall suddenly quieted down. Chapter 41-43 Conflict. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang, 9th Kalpa King, and the other 3 had been in the Taro vestige for 10 years. There were many rulers in the Taro vestige. Because there were no principles, there were frequent fights. Even if there was no enmity between them, they might fight each other because they coveted the treasures on each other's bodies. Jian Wushuang and the others had seen such fights many times in the past 10 years. However, during these 10 years, no ignorant rulers dared to provoke them. After all, their 7-man team was very strong, especially with 9th Kalpa King in charge. His existence alone was enough to make most of the rulers' teams in the Taro vestige not dare to attack them. During the past 10 years, Jian Wushuang and the others spent most of their time asking around for information about Zhufeng King. Zhufeng King was an almost invincible existence among the ultimate rulers. He was famous and knew many people. It was easy for Jian Wushuang and the others to ask around. In the past 10 years, they had received some information. However, the news made them look a little strange. According to the rulers in the Taro ruins, the team led by Zhufeng King had caused a great storm in the Taro ruins 3,000 years ago. However, the team had disappeared 3,000 years ago. It was as if they had disappeared from the world. Disappeared 3,000 years ago? It would have been fine if only one person had said that. The key was that they had asked many rulers along the way and received the same answer. Box and Oval. C0M Jian Wushuang and the others could not help but ponder. Zhufeng King had asked for help from the Life Palace 1,000 years ago. Only 3 months after he had asked for help, they had set off from the Life Palace and traveled to the Taro ruins. Where did they go in the next 2,000 years? During those 2,000 years, they kept in contact with the Divine Life Palace, but the Divine Life Palace did not receive any news from them. Only the last message for help. What was going on? Jian Wushuang and the others could not figure it out for the time being. In addition, during the past 10 years, something had happened in the 7-man team. The conflict between Emperor Thousand Leaves and 9th Kalpa King had worsened rapidly, and it was starting to smell of gunpowder. 9th Kalpa King was proud and arrogant. He did not think much of many rulers. Even though Emperor Thousand Leaves and Ruler Purple Eye were almost invincible among rulers, they were still nothing in the eyes of 9th Kalpa King. However, Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves and Ruler Violet Eye were more or less proud to be able to reach the ruler realm. This was especially so for Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves. He was unwilling to be under anyone. It would be strange if such 2 people were in a small team. It would be strange if there were no conflicts. In a towering hall, 7 people were sitting cross-legged. TMPH, how long will it take to find them like this? Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves' expression was gloomy. He stared at 9th Kalpa King and said with a sneer, what 2nd level? It's just their guesses. As for Zhufeng King and company, they were probably targeted by someone before they were wiped out. And since those people were prepared to attack, they naturally would not leave any traces behind. We naturally could not find anything. 9th Kalpa King gave Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves an indifferent glance. What are you trying to say? Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves narrowed his eyes slightly. He said, there are many opportunities and treasures in the Taro vestige. We should try to find them. Even if we can't find them ourselves, with our team's strength, we can kill other teams or rulers in the Taro vestige. At that time, we can also gain a lot. As for the Zhufeng King team, let's put it aside for now. After saying that, Emperor Thousand Leaves glanced at Jian Wushuang and the others and said with a smile, what do you think of my suggestion? As soon as he said that, everyone could not help feeling a little restless. After all, the life and death of Zhufeng King did not matter to them at all. They came to the Taro vestige for the opportunity. I think Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves' suggestion is feasible. Ruler Violet, I immediately agreed with a smile. I think, yes, the second level of the ruins is something that cannot be completely confirmed. It's not that we don't want to look for the second level's spatial enchantment, but we should indeed spend more time searching for treasures. As for the Zhufeng King team's death, we can slowly investigate it, said the veteran ultimate ruler. The Nine Young ruler said with his head lowered. That's right. Ninth Kalpa King, it's not that we are not investigating the cause of Zhufeng King's death. We are just taking a breather and searching for treasures first. I heard that not long ago, an upper-grade nomological cardinal treasure appeared in the south. Why don't we go and take a look together? Said the Chinan ruler. 3 of the 7 agreed with Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves' words, and a smile appeared on his face. He turned his eyes to Zhen Wushuang again and said with a smile, Zhen Wushuang, what do you think? He believed that everyone would support him, except Divine Marquis Qingfeng, who had never fallen. At the same time, he was confident that when the 5 of them worked together to pressure Ninth Kalpa King, even he would have to bow his head. Are you asking me? Zhen Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Of course. Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves nodded with a smile. In his opinion, there had always been a feud between Zhen Wushuang and Ninth Kalpa King, so there was no doubt that he would stand on his side. There are many opportunities and treasures in Taro Vestige. It would be good if I could get them, but I'm not interested in killing other teams and rulers, Zhen Wushuang replied indifferently. What? Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves' expression changed slightly. Even the Ninth Kalpa King raised his head and looked at Zhen Wushuang in surprise. Zhen Wushuang, do you mean you don't want to come with us? Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves' expression was a little gloomy. The other rulers also narrowed their eyes. They had seen the feud between Zhen Wushuang and the Ninth Kalpa King. In the past 10 years, they had barely talked more than 3 times. Logically speaking, Zhen Wushuang should hate the Ninth Kalpa King. It was right for him to stand on their side. Yes, Zhen Wushuang replied indifferently. Good, good, good. Zhen Wushuang, then you should waste your time here with Ninth Kalpa King. Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves' face was completely unfriendly to Zhen Wushuang. After a cold snort, he said, let's go. With that, Divine Emperor Thousand Leaves, Ruler Purple Eye, Ruler Nine Yang, and Ruler Chinan strode out of the hall. After the 4 of them left, the hall suddenly became quiet. Chapter 41-44. The first is more. Intercept other dominating squads and plunder the opponent's treasures. This is actually not easy to see in the universe. After all, although there are a lot of strong players in the universe, under normal circumstances, it is very difficult to gather so many powerful ultimate masters. Only if this Taro ruins are now in the world and restrict the entry of the supreme power, will there be countless ultimate masters swarming in. It is precisely because there are too many masters in the gathering that the killing battles become extremely frequent, and this halfway interception becomes commonplace. The reason why Chiba God and Zitong dominated the 4 before they chose to part ways with the 9 kings and Zhen Wushuang is because of the constraints of the 9 kings. King Zhoujia is proud and arrogant, and he disdains to intercept those weaker dominating teams, and King Zhoujia is also investigating the cause of the destruction of the team of King of the Wind, but Chiba God cannot help them. As soon as the 4 of them broke away from the King of Zhoujia, they immediately began to intercept and kill other master teams in the Taro ruins. And this shot, the harvest is quite rich. This magic rain kingdom is one of the most common kingdoms in the vast universe. There are only 6 ultimate dominators in the strong squad they sent over, and there are only 2 ultimate dominators at the top level. With such a strength, he dared to move around in the ruins of Taro. Chiba God Jun smirked. They were lucky before. They didn't meet the powerful team that dominated them. Unfortunately, they now met the 4 of us, and they only had a rout. Zitong also laughed. Unfortunately, the 8 Cloud Demon Lords were not able to stay. The 8 Cloud Demon Lords are the top ultimate masters headed by the 6-man squad of Demon God Kingdom. For more than 10,000 years, they have received many in this Taro ruins. Benefits. It is estimated that a lot of them are concentrated on the Lord of the 8 Clouds. Zhouyang ruled. No way, although the Lord of the Eight Clouds is only the ultimate master, and his strength is far less than me and Zitong, but his ability to save lives is not too weak. Even if I join forces with Zitong, it is difficult to kill him. Chiba monarchy. Unfortunately, that Qingfeng god who has never been with us, otherwise, with his entanglement methods, he is completely hopeful to leave the Lord of the Eight Clouds. Zitong dominated. Qingfeng. Her. Chiba god is Lungheng. Qingfeng Shenhu is just the top ultimate dominating level, but what he is best at is entanglement of trapped people. On the subject of entanglement, whether it is Chiba god or Zitong, he is far less than Qingfeng Shenhu. If Qingfeng Shenhu was with them, just now they really have a lot of confidence to leave the Lord of the Eight Clouds. Qingfeng, this fool, he is willing to follow the King of the Nine Robbers, so let him continue to follow, and that sword is unparalleled, dominated by the fourth level. I am afraid that even the cannon fodder is not counted in this Taro ruins. If we follow us, maybe we can give him a little bit of benefit, but he has to follow the King of Calamity. With the proud and overbearing nature of King of Calamity, even if he really got any chance, there is no one share. Chiba said with a sneer. The three pupils dominated each other, and nodded secretly. Indeed, there were certain reasons why they chose to leave before, because King Nine Kings behaved very aggressively. Following King Nine Kings, even if they really got any chance, they may not be able to share any benefits, so it's not as good. They parted ways with the King of Nine Calamities, and they did well on their own. Don't bother with them, we continue to wander in this Taro ruins. With the strength of the four of us, as long as we do not meet the dominant team of the top forces in the universe, there is nothing to be afraid of, and even if we really encounter that kind of strong team, the four of us joined forces, and I have the confidence to protect myself. Chiba Shenjun said. Immediately, the four of them continued to wander in the ruins of Tai Luo. In a flash of time, 50 years have passed. In the past 50 years, the four Chiba gods have plundered other dominating squads throughout the ruins. Under the team of the four, many weaker dominating squads have been seeded. Of course, although the four people are looting everywhere, they are also robbing by different objects, such as some masters from the great cosmic forces, or some powerful and famous ultimate masters, but they will not easily provoke them. With the four of them working together, there are very few strong teams in the ruins of Tai Luo who can really do anything to them. Therefore, in the past 50 years, the four of them have been mixed and gained a lot of benefits. It is interesting that in the past 50 years, the three swordsmen Wu Jian also met once with the Chiba gods. Of course, this encounter did not produce much stormy waves. Just after a few ridicules and sarcasm, they went to each other. A secluded corner in the Taro ruins. The King of Nine Robbers, Sword Wushuang, and Qingfeng Shenhu were investigating the entry point of the second floor 1 inch by 1 inch. Suddenly, okay. The Sword Wushuang 3 looked up at the same time. I saw a void in the surrounding area, and there was a strong breath of Changhong coming at an astonishing speed. The King of Nine Calamities had a dim look, and his body flickered in the next moment, and he was already standing in front of this dominating team. The team of 5 members of this dominating team stopped immediately. Who? Stopped halfway. The 5 who dominated the squad were a little angry. As the body of King Jojia gradually condensed in front of the 5 people, the 5 people who were originally angry were trembled in the heart the next moment. King of Nine Calamities. King of Nine Calamities in the Temple of Life. The 5 men who dominated the squad trembled. This time the ruins of Tai Luo are here, a large number of powerful masters from the vast universe, and some of the more famous and powerful masters are naturally well known. The King of Nine Calamities is undoubtedly one of the most famous among the many ultimate dominators in the universe. The 5 people who dominate this team can naturally be recognized. At the same time, they also all know the strength of King Jojia. Undoubtedly, the 9 kings alone is enough to sweep the 5-member team directly, and they have no room for struggle. Seeing the King of Nine Calamities standing in front of them, they were naturally frightened. 5 people, see where you are in a hurry, where are you going? The King of Jolong looked over. Jian Wushuang and Qingfeng God who also appeared next to King Jojia. Jian Wushuang also noticed that the five-man dominated team was very fast and very anxious, as if they were in a hurry to go. Upon hearing the inquiries from King Zhoulong, the five masters looked at each other face to face, and the top ultimate leader, who was immediately headed, said, "Since King Zhoulong has been met by you, I will not hide you. Just now we got the news, saying it is in Fengyang Canyon that a superb magic medicine was born." Chapter 41-45. Second more. Divine medicine is born. Jian Wushuang looked. When this elixir was born, it was very dynamic. It has attracted many powerful men to rush past, and among those who have passed, some people have recognized this elixir and said that this elixir, it can be refined into a magic pan, which can increase the chance of breaking the supreme, said the top ultimate master. What are you talking about? In the eyes of King Nine Calamity, a fierce light burst out. Jian Wushuang Yu Qingfeng Shenhu was also shocked in the heart. The two looked at each other, and they could not help but feel a rush of astonishment. Extremely rare magic drugs are rare. In particular, this kind of magic medicine that can make the ultimate dominator increase some chances of breaking the supreme, that is even more rare in the universe. Jian Wushuang is still the fourth-level dominator. It is not particularly urgent to need such a breakthrough elixir, but those ultimate dominators are different. That was a breakthrough. This is what any ultimate dominator dreams of. Even if this magic medicine can only increase the chance of breaking some extremes, it is enough to make all the ultimate masters crazy, like the King of Nine Calamities. King Zhoujia has always been the first genius recognized in the Temple of Life, at least until the sword Wushuang arrived. However, the status of Zhu Jiawang in the Palace of Life is getting lower and lower these years, because he has been staying at the ultimate dominance level for too long, and the Palace of Life has given him enough resources and costs. Being able to break through and become supreme, this has caused many seniors in the Palace of Life to be disappointed in him. Over the years, the King of Nine Calamities has been reluctant to endure. Even if he realizes the terrible killing tricks of the Kingdom of God, he has never been exposed. It is because he knows that for him, only by breaking through to become supreme can he truly climb to a whole new level, otherwise nothing else is useless. It can be said that among the many ultimate masters in the Palace of Life, King Zhujia's desire to break the supreme is the strongest. After all, he already has the supreme combat power now, and mastered the Kingdom of God. Once he breaks through to become the supreme, it must be the top supreme combat power, and the potential is even greater in the future. But the key is that after so many years, he has been unable to break through, and even he himself is somewhat unsure whether he has the possibility to break into the supreme. And now, there is a huge opportunity in front of him. This is the magic medicine born now. This strain can be refined into a magic potion that can increase the chance of breaking the supreme. Even if it only increases the chance of breakthrough by 10%, it is definitely enough to make Zhou Jiawang crazy. But what you said is true. The King of Juzai's eyes burned, staring at the five people in front of him. Of course it is true. Now that the news has spread, it is estimated that there are already a lot of masters rushing there, but it should take a while for the birth of the elixir. If you immediately rush past it, maybe it will return urgent, said the top ultimate master. Go, let's hurry up. Zhu Jiawang gave a low sigh, and his speed broke out instantly. Jian Wushuang glanced at Qingfeng God Hu, and neither of them hesitated, and immediately followed. The Tara ruins are huge and immense. Many of the masters in the universe have spent thousands of years in the Tara ruins. Many places in the Tara ruins have been named. For example, Fengyang Canyon was ordered because a Fengyang fruit was born here. The Fengyang God fruit is also a rare treasure. However, it was not long before the birth of Fengyang Shengguo. In this Fengyang Canyon, there was even a more precious superb medicine. Fengyang Gorge is not too far away from where the swordsmen 3 are located. At the speed of 3 people, the 3 arrived at Fengyang Gorge in less than half an hour. I saw the mighty Fengyang Canyon, above the void, filled with people. Countless masters confronted each other, swords stretched out, and the air was full of gunpowder. The 3 swordsmen, the King of 9 robbers, did not appear in a hurry, but hid in a void, watching this scene from afar. There are so many powerful people. Jian Wushuang looked at the numerous masters gathered in front of them. These masters were almost all the ultimate masters, and many of them were already at the top level among the ultimate masters. Even the nearly invincible masters like the Chiba gods and the Zitong masters have more than 10 players on the field. And this has already appeared, and many of them are estimated to be hiding in the surrounding void, waiting for opportunities. Potion, still there. King Jujia's eyes flickered with unprecedented sharpness, staring at the void in the middle of the canyon, where a whole body was blood-colored, exuding a unique breath of magic medicine. 9 kings of the nation do not even know this magic medicine, but there are so many strong players in the field, and many of them have great talents on geniuses and divine treasures, or some of them have great accomplishments. They are so greedy about this magic medicine. Obviously, after the divine medicine is made into the panacea, it can increase the chance of dominating the supremacy, which should be true. It seems that we are not late yet, but there are so many hosts here, including the team from Taishu Temple and Shuetian Temple. It is not so easy to get the magic medicine from the eyes of so many people. King Jie narrowed his eyes. Although he is proud and arrogant, he is not blindly arrogant. The dominating squads under the influence of these great forces in the universe have a lot of strength. He also feels headaches. You must know that the masters sent by the top forces in the universe are unlikely to have the weak. The King of 9 Calamities, your old friend, Yin Peng, is also over there. Qingfeng Shun, who looked at the entrance of Fengyang Gorge, a young hawk-nosed young man, joked. His mentality was quite relaxed. From the beginning, he knew that this magic potion would definitely not fall into his hands. So he didn't even think about competing. Wang Zhouyan snorted coldly without saying a word. Jian Wushuang looked at the top ultimate masters in Fengyang Canyon from afar. He could not help but secretly sigh that these ultimate masters could travel for thousands of years in the ruins without being looted and killed by others. Like him, if he explodes with all his strength, his combat power will be enough to match the top ultimate master. Even when he encounters the ultimate master of near invincibility like the master of Chiba and Zitong, he can fight directly. The current Fengyang Canyon is obviously not the top. Chiba god, they didn't even come? Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow. Suddenly, if you don't take this elixir, I'll take it first. A sharp laughter sounded suddenly in the sky. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,